Had this guest on a couple weeks ago. Great conversation, great insights into the restoration community. Invited him back because I don't think we finished the conversation. So
if we don't have everything that we do documented in a way that we can easily pass it on to the next generations out, shall we say, you're going to be stuck in the driver's seat constantly, and you're not able to ever truly start to build a business.
And part of scaling is really in building out processes, leadership teams, delegation, and we really didn't touch on some of those things in the last episode.
Same thing with this meeting. Same day, same time, every week. The only thing that cancels it is a death in the family, vacation, or sickness.
Welcome to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. In each episode, we're going to bring you insightful interviews and discussions with top restoration industry leaders. We're also going to delve into their business, the strategies that made them successful, and most importantly, the valuable lessons they've learned along the way. I'm your host, Clinton James. I'm also the Chief Marketing Officer at Water Restoration Marketing. We're a digital marketing agency dedicated to helping restoration companies nationwide secure more high-value water jobs. Now, this show, it aims to provide you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the restoration industry. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
And welcome back to another episode of the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. As always, I am your host, Clinton James, Chief Marketing Officer over at Water Restoration Marketing. Had this guest on a couple weeks ago. Great conversation, great insights into the restoration community. Invited him back because I don't think we finished the conversation. So without further ado, welcome back to the podcast, Toby Clem. Toby Clem. I'm sorry, why did I butcher your last name like that?
Happens all the time.
With Restoration Advisors. Toby, thanks for jumping back on another episode of the podcast.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. It was a good conversation last time, and I can't wait for the conversation on this one. It's going to be good.
Well, Toby, you work with restoration companies across the country. You've had great success in helping them scale. And part of scaling is really in building out processes, leadership teams, delegation. And we really didn't touch on some of those things in the last episode. So I guess for the audience listening right now, I really want to walk you guys through, especially the folks that are, just hit seven figures early and, $2-3 million. There's really some fundamental things that you should be putting in place to make it easier for you to scale the business there. The first thing, Toby, that jumps to mind with me is SOPs, right? So systems for actually running a restoration business. Now, a lot of restoration companies, because they started off as an owner-operator, they run on experience and memory. Why do you think that eventually becomes a problem?
Well, because it gets trapped in the owner's head and they have not gotten everything that's in here, number one, out of their mouth, but secondly, onto paper. And I say paper, that's an old school term at this point in the 21st century, but I digress. Because at the end of the day, memory can walk out the door, right? So if we don't have everything that we do documented in a way that we can easily pass it on to the next generations out, shall we say, you're going to be stuck in the driver's seat constantly, and you're not able to ever truly start to build a business. And I just want to park here for just a second because I've had conversations with brokers in the past, because one thing that I've heard through the grapevine is that if you have SOPs, there's some level where your business is more valuable to a purchase, right? The SOPs in and of themselves are not the multiplier. The fact that you have them and operate by them is where the multiplier is, because you will then see efficiency from that, right? So it's not the SOPs themselves.
Okay.
It's the discipline that it takes to create them and to implement them is where the value is. So I just want people to really understand that this is an exercise, really. But if you don't do the exercise and then follow through with the implementation, I don't want to say all for naught, but it doesn't carry the same weight.
No, I get it. It's not only creating the SOP, it's not only sharing the SOP with your team, but it's also holding your team accountable for following the SOP. Not
Correct.
sometimes, right? Not in the perfect situation every single time.
Yeah.
It's the reason that like Chipotle produces the same burrito bowl in
Correct.
every restaurant around the country, right? I
Yep.
know what I'm going to get when I walk into Chipotle and I order that burrito bowl. Now,
100%.
obviously, there's always some variables like some dynamics that pop up on a job or in a certain circumstance, and you have to operate slightly outside that SOP.
Yeah.
But I think SOPs and those kind of frameworks are really good. You're right, to get out of the owner's head, to get documented so that he can pass that on to the next project manager, the next technician, the next office manager, the person that does intake and dispatch, right?
Correct.
What are the first systems that you think restoration companies should start documenting?
Well, I would start wherever your biggest pain point is.
Okay.
Right. Now, that being said, I always, when I go and do an onsite with my clients, one of the first things that we do is we say, what is your business process? How do you think in terms of manufacturing, right? My dad was in manufacturing. I grew up in a machine shop because he worked so much. So manufacturing is the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm thinking about processes. But it's a very easy way to think of raw goods in the front door, finished goods out the back door, right? For us in restoration, a raw good in a manufacturing sense is that inbound lead,
Okay.
right? And the finished product is providing 6-star service and getting and settling for a 5-star review, right? That's your finished product. Okay. What are the machines that your customer has to make a stop at in order for us to get that 5-star review?
I like that. Having a digital marketing agency and being a part of generating that that raw material that comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a phone call from a homeowner or a business owner, let's say in the middle of a water damage emergency, right? The person that answers that call, the initial conversation that they have with that homeowner, should that be a process, right? Should that be documented,
100%.
scripted out? Okay.
100%. Now, scripted, I am not a fan. I'm not a sales guy by nature.
Okay.
I don't like scripts, right?
Okay.
But there are bullet points that need to be covered on every single call. First notice of loss, intake form, we need to cover those things, right? Am I going to give a script out? Me personally?
Mhm.
No, I don't give scripts out because I hate scripts myself. But see, that's the beauty of designing your own systems. You get to learn how you work and how you want your business to work, and you build that. Just because I don't like a script doesn't mean we can't create one if you work good on scripts.
Okay.
And I think that's where we do a really good job of learning the owner, learning the business, and helping you develop systems that fit you and your business. Because if you create them, you will implement them. Now, I say all that to say, because that ties into another point that I wanted to make. And that is, don't sit in your ivory tower and create SOPs and then throw them on your team and say, here's the SOP. If you do that, you're operating in a dictatorship, right? Nobody likes to be told what to do.
Okay.
And it's very hard. It's harder to get them to be excited about the process if they've been handed and said, do it my way.
Okay.
Okay. So how do we do that? I'm a huge fan of once a week in your team meeting, say, hey guys, I'm working on this SOP. Tell me how you 3 lead technicians do ABC process.
Okay.
And have a conversation about the start to finish process.
Okay.
And ask them to provide you with 5 to 7 steps, key steps that have to be done in order to achieve a 5-star review.
Okay. So it's... Go ahead.
Then you take that. That's the framework by which you can start writing your SOP. Now, I say write your SOP because now we live in the world of AI. If you have a good prompt and you have a good solid outline, you can have an SOP done in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, I love using Claude or ChatGPT or one of these AI tools to help generate SOPs for the processes that we use in our agency.
Yes.
Have you ever sat in on one of those meetings where the owner is talking to members of his team and asking them to give him feedback on a specific process and what that looks like? Steps one, two, three, four, five.
I have. I don't do it often because
Okay.
that is, my job is to get the owner and the leader in a place where they can do that, right? Now, can I sit in? Yes, but a lot of times when I'm sitting in, the owner's looking to me to start leading, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm trying to
Okay.
teach you how to fish. I'm
Okay.
not going to fish for you, right? Now, that being said, I do that with the owners ahead of time.
Okay.
We do that in their business to outline the high level bullet points of their business from a holistic standpoint. Because once we understand their holistic process, that becomes the chapters, shall we say, in their training library.
Okay. Now,
Right. So I do it from a holistic standpoint, and then I challenge them to take the process that I use with them and replicate that on their own.
now you said you should identify where the pain points are in the business and use that as a jump off point for where you start creating those SOPs. Outside of go ahead.
Caveat, I took that to mean if one of your listeners was doing it on their own.
Okay.
That's not how I start the process when I'm working with someone. Very
Okay.
big difference. But if you are on your, just trying to cowboy this through on your own, just pick a pain point, have a conversation with your team, get them to help you understand the process. They're going to maybe tell you where things are going wrong inadvertently.
Okay.
But B, it'll give you a chance to maybe coach them a little bit. The third, maybe the most important point is if they're part of building or documenting the SOP, then when things go wrong, we can say, you helped write the damn thing.
It's easier to hold them accountable if they're part of the
If they're
creation
part
of the
of
SOP.
the process.
Okay.
Yes. And now that principle right there is so important for business owners to latch onto, because a lot of times business owners are trying to put the processes in place with 2 or 3 people in their team, and they're trying to get all of their house in order before they go hire someone. On some level, I understand that, but why not hire the right people to help you build the processes?
Now that seems like could be a challenge for some folks, right? Because
Absolutely, I'm going through that with clients right now. It's absolutely a challenge.
All right, so we talked about intake. What are the other examples of specific documenting systems in a business there?
One big pain point that I see that really has such a big cascade effect is scoping.
Okay.
If we don't have a good, solid scope, then the downstream effects from that just go all the way into your profit and loss statement.
Okay.
So that to me is a huge one. Now, part of that is also your estimating process, but before estimating, you got to have a good scope, right?
Okay.
So that is one that I see a lot of times that is a big pain point, a big obstacle for companies. AI is changing that game. I'm working with a few of my clients to build prompts for that. We have a little tool that I'd be happy to share, but it actually records and transcribes right into AI. And then from that, we can basically have a really solid scope within a matter of minutes of getting in the truck.
Wow.
It's a game changer, right? So there's lots of ways that we are in the past year with AI really becoming mainstream that we're able to start streamlining some of these things and get more consistency, because at the end of the day, that's what SOPs are about. It's about consistency, right?
Sure.
AI is really helping with that. But I would say scoping is probably the next big one. Estimating with Xactimate and getting consistency in Xactimate estimates, absolutely one that you want to try to get out of your head and onto paper that can be teachable.
Okay.
Customer onboarding, training, employee onboarding, training,
Okay.
all of those sorts of things are great places to start if you are looking for a place to start. But at the end of the day, you really, I always say it's like eating an elephant. You got to do it one bite at a time, right? But if you can do it, if you can start from a holistic perspective and think about raw goods in, finished goods out, and the checkpoints along the way, that's a good solid baseline to start creating SOPs.
Okay. Now, you've been at this for years, working again with tons of restoration companies. What really happens to a company's growth when these systems start replacing, I guess what they refer to as like tribal knowledge, just
Tribal
everybody
knowledge.
kind of knows how to do it, right?
Yeah, you get consistency is the big thing, right? And what happened, like the natural byproduct in business of consistency is profit, right? So those are the things that happen. Your team, your culture becomes more cohesive because when you have good systems, when you have good processes documented and everybody's referring back to those, it alleviates some of the burden on the management team to hold people accountable. So it's I would say it is the basis of a good, efficient company to have a training library.
I like that. Now, I know for some of the folks listening to the podcast right now, they may think, man, that's a little overwhelming in terms of creating all these SOPs and putting these systems in place. But even when they do, they're still, man, a lot of owners struggle with the delegation, right? Actually handing off the SOP and allowing someone else to do that part of the business. Because they're used to, again, owner-operators. They started like chucking a truck, man. One guy, some dehues, some air movers, a moisture meter, and they're ready to go. Why do you think that owners struggle with it? Why is that so common in restoration? Owners just really struggling to delegate certain aspects of the business to their team.
I think if I could distill it all down to one common denominator that I hear from all of them is A, because they built it, and B, because they're afraid that their customers will not get the same level of service as they did when they were in the truck.
Okay.
They care so deeply for their customers. And listen, in order to be in this industry, you have got to have empathy. You must have empathy.
100%.
But empathy unchecked causes you to carry burdens that are not yours to bear. That's financial. That's the biggest place that I see this, and this is where I have this conversation constantly, is on the financial side, and holding customers accountable to pay their part of the bill. Whole other conversation. But at the end of the day, it's unchecked empathy. They care so deeply for their customers that they're shortchanging their company and their opportunity to bend over backwards for their customers.
Do you think there's a fear that, like, I'm the only one that can do this thing well, right? I am the only one in the business that can actually service this client or handle 100%. This estimate? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We see that all the time. And early on, that's true. You are the best person to service this customer when you only have 3 or 4 other people, right? You're the best one to come in and manage that job. But if you're going to get to where you want to go, A, spending more time with your family, B, making more income, or 3, selling this thing, you have got to learn to train others to meet your service standards.
Okay, that pivots into a whole different direction, right? What does it actually take for an owner of a restoration company to develop leaders inside the organization?
I'm a logical thinker, right? I use the manufacturing metaphor because it's a straight line, right? I can see a straight line, right? So I put things into very logical statements. In order to be a good leader, you have to focus on outcomes more than tasks. I put it in terms of outcomes, the word, with the greater than sign, tasks. Okay. Outcomes are greater than tasks, right? A leader focuses on outcomes. A leader is going to say, at a very high level, I need you to provide 6-star service and get a 5-star review. Now, tongue in cheek, I don't care how you get there. I just need that done. Okay. A task is what managers focus on. A manager is going to focus on the checklist and make sure that his people are doing A, B, C, D, and E, right? Now, by extension, what does a micromanager do? They hyper-focus on the tasks.
I'm definitely guilty of that in my business.
We all are. We all are.
How do you find a balance, though, between focusing on the outcome, but also wanting to hold those people accountable to the tasks that you created in your SOP.
Well, see, that's where I'm not a huge fan of creating super detailed SOPs.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you how to turn a screwdriver lefty loosey, righty tighty.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough.
I'm going to focus on outcomes and give you enough detail to guide you to deliver the outcome. I'm not going to tell you to turn the screwdriver left to unscrew the screws from the socket.
Sure.
Right? So I'm going to focus on outcomes. Now, to your point, how do you balance that? We have to have a really good accountability structure in place, right? A lot of people think organizational chart. Yes, it looks like an organizational chart, but it's deeper than that. Every single role has to have outcomes that they're responsible for.
Okay.
Okay. Now, with accountability, it's a two-way street. If I'm the owner and I'm jumping down to be let's just say a lead tech for the day because we're swamped, right? That project manager needs to understand that he's still accountable for the job, even though I'm there working as a lead tech.
Okay.
Okay. If you're going to fulfill a role, you have to fulfill it in the position that it is on the accountability chart. A project manager can't take his hands off and say, oh, you know what? No PPE today because the owner's not doing it. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The project manager is accountable for the health and safety of all employees on that job. If the owner shows up and skips a step because he's not in the day-to-day operations as much anymore, it's on the project manager to hold that owner accountable because that owner is not an owner anymore. He's a lead tech.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
okay? It's a two-way street.
So even if you're in the owner's box, if you are moving into another or have to temporarily move into another role in the organization, you are held accountable by whoever is up that chart from you.
That's correct.
Because ultimately they own that outcome, right?
Yeah. It's a culture thing, right? If everybody's accountable, no one's accountable, right? So somebody has to be accountable. And who's accountable for the jobs? The project manager. In the story. It's part of the culture. So there's got to be guardrails, and those guardrails are the accountability items that role is tasked with completing or seeing through every single day.
Okay. For me, it seems like a huge mindset shift, right? From a guy that literally just was a project manager over at a big national franchise, goes out, starts his own business. What really happens to an owner when they start to let go of that control? Like, how transformative is that for not just their business, but also for them and the burden that they wear on their shoulders?
It's a different hard. I'm not going to say it's easy. They may feel a sense of freedom, but it's a different hard. They go from nobody can do this like me to my job is now to make other people great. The owner's value stops being their skill and it starts being their judgment and vision. And from a operations guy who's third generation blue collar, my value, I grew up that my value came from the work that I performed, right? And that's where a lot of these guys get stuck is their value is doing the work. They have a really hard time making that jump to their value being here.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get that shift, it is freeing, but it's also extremely challenging.
Okay.
Because you're focused on the outcome. You're focused on helping everyone else achieve the outcome. You're no longer doing the work. Your hands are not in getting dirty anymore. Your value comes from a different place. And when you can make that jump, you've arrived.
So I like that. For the restoration owners that are listening who kind of feel stuck, right? They haven't made that jump in their business today. What do you think of the 3 things they could start doing April, right? Next month that would make the biggest difference in their business?
You've got to know your numbers.
Okay.
That is unequivocally one of the most important things. You've got to know your numbers. And we help our clients get to a point where every single week they're looking at a scorecard, right? KPIs.
Mm-hmm.
So start with 5, 7, depending on how big your company is. 5 is probably good for somebody that's $1 million or less. 7 to 8, 9 is probably good for $1 million to 3.
Okay.
But pick some numbers. I always start with how much revenue did we bill or invoice this week?
Okay.
What was the net profit? And it's a rough number. I get it. We're not looking for exact right here. We're just looking for consistency. But if you can pull job profit, right? If you don't have good QuickBooks in place and you're not able to and you're not running on cash, then look at job profit if you can. But try to understand what your company profitability is on a regular basis. Look at your AR. Look at your conversion rate between leads in, inspections performed, and jobs sold.
Okay.
Right? So you got to track those 3 numbers to get the ratios between each one.
Sure.
Right? And then a huge number that we look at, and it's hard for people to wrap their minds around, but revenue per employee. That gives you an overall company efficiency rate.
I like that.
Come up with goals for each one of those, and then track them on the weekly. I would say that's number 1.
All right. So number 1, let's start tracking those meaningful KPIs. What's number 2 for the audience, Toby?
In my opinion, this kind of goes hand in hand with that scorecard. Establish a leadership meeting rhythm. Every single week, you and your leadership team, now maybe that's just you and one other person in the short term. That's okay. Establish the rhythm now while you're small, because as you get bigger, it's going to be way more impactful and valuable. But start it now. Every single week, kind of like going to the dojo for those who are jujitsu or karate fanatics, right? You go in, you bow on the mat. It's dedicated, appreciated, and valued time, right? Same thing with this meeting. Same day, same time, every week. The only thing that cancels it is a death in the family, vacation, or sickness. Everything else gets pushed aside. Everything is scheduled around this. Put it on the calendar. This week, same time next week. Don't cancel it. This rhythm, if you start this rhythm, you'll find will start cascading out into other areas of your business. So I would start there.
Okay.
Establish a leadership meeting rhythm.
All right, so we've got two things for them to start doing next month. We've got tracking meaningful KPIs, establishing like a set rhythm for those leadership team meetings, whether you're 1 person, 5 people, 10 people in that leadership team. They got to get on the calendar on a weekly or monthly basis there, right?
Yep.
What's the third one you got for the audience?
The third one I would say is find one pain point and document the core process to get a 5-star review from that process. Now, that process may be a very small piece of the bigger overall company holistic process. I get it. But if you can do that one thing well, it will substantially increase your opportunity to get a 5-star review. So pick one core process and get your team involved, have them outline it, get it into ChatGPT if you want to. You can go old school and freehand it. That's perfectly fine. It's a great exercise because it really causes you to really think about the process, not getting too detailed, but keeping it detailed enough that somebody could follow it. Put it into AI, share it with the team, get them to mark it all up as ready, and go back to the drawing board. Go through 2 or 3 iterations and get it locked in. Once you go through the first one, all of a sudden the rest of them become easier. But don't bite off more than you can chew. Focus on one at a time in the beginning. And then once you understand the process, my challenge would be then teach someone else how to do it. So now you have 2 people doing it.
Okay.
I'm not saying stop once you've delegated. I'm saying get 2 people doing it. And then it's a multiplication effect. And all of a sudden your training library becomes pretty robust in a fairly short amount of time with some focus.
I love that. I hope the audience is listening, and I'm hoping you guys will take some action here, right? 3 things that you could start doing this month or next month, since we're almost at the end of March. Start tracking those meaningful KPIs. Establish leadership meeting rhythm. Make it consistent every day or every week, same day, same time, and hold people accountable for showing up in good faith. And then document some core processes, right? Create that first SOP for a pain point in your business there.
Yep.
All right. So I saw you posted this online. I am a huge believer in in-person events. Doesn't matter what kind of business that you own. It's great to be around people in the same industry, share experiences, share best practices. Man, sometimes it's just good to vent about some of the challenges that you're experiencing in your business. And Restoration Advisors has one of those type of events coming up. So can you tell the audience a little bit about what you guys have coming up?
I will. And first off, let me thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. This was not part of the plan at all. So this whole podcast series was not a hook to get you guys in.
No, man.
I appreciate, I really appreciate you giving me the platform. We do this every year, Montana Business Retreat. We go to Whitefish, Montana, and we spend 2 days in a conference room or up on the rooftop balcony, just talking with restorers about what is going on in their business. We actually do things a little bit different. There's one other group that we kind of glean some inspiration from for the format of this. So we actually will poll all of the attendees a few days before the event. And based on the results of the poll determines what we talk about.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we're giving, without putting anyone in the hot seat per se, we're covering all of the topics that are challenging, obstacles, or something exciting that these folks want to talk about. And it's peer collaboration, and it's very little input from myself or Clark, and there's zero lecture because it's a mastermind, really, to talk about the pain points of the attendees. So it's hyper-focused on the challenges that they're facing, and we have $1.5 million companies in the room, and we have $10 million companies in the room.
Okay.
And it's a great opportunity for everyone to see a different perspective, to learn from those who are ahead of them, or for those that are the larger companies in the room, they get to hear some of the pain points of either the smaller ones or maybe some employees that they can take back to their business and adjust their culture, right? Or there's a lot of lessons that are learned from small companies that can be implemented for more efficiency in a big business, right?
Agreed.
So the collaboration is incredibly powerful. The reviews have been outstanding, and we actually have many repeat or return attendees because of the value that they get from it. So it's inexpensive, relatively speaking. It's 2 solid days. Breakfast and lunch is covered. You're 20 minutes from Glacier National Park, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful places on earth. I would pick Glacier over Hawaii just about any day of the week. One of my favorite places on earth. So it's such a great event. And if you haven't been to Whitefish, Montana, it's a really cool little town.
Okay, let's give the audience some details. First off, is it limited to only people that currently work with you and Clark over at Restoration Advisors?
No, it is open to the public. In fact, we actually prefer that because it gives us a chance to hear other voices in the industry, and we get to get out of the echo chamber to a real degree. But it doesn't always work out that way, and that's fine. We have a great time every single year. I think we're going on year 4, and it's just been it's grown every year, and it's been a great experience.
Awesome. When is it taking place?
June 23rd and 24th.
Okay.
I'll send you the link. It's restorationadvisors.com/Montana 2026, I believe, but check the link in the description because I might be wrong on that.
Yeah, it's okay. For you guys driving, don't worry about it. We'll get the link. We'll make sure we add it to the show notes or the description there. So 2 full days in June. Give me those dates one more time.
23rd and 24th.
Okay. And if you guys are interested in attending the event, we're going to put a link so that you can get some more information, reach out to Toby and the team. You've talked a little bit about what people can expect when they go to the events. And I know a lot of guys might be a little leery. They pay to go to these events, these masterminds. They show up and there's 5 or 6 vendors trying to hawk their services to a room full of restorers. Is that what they're going to run into when they come out there, Toby? Okay.
there is no vendors, there's no lectures. It's just restorers, myself and Clark, and we're honestly Clark and I are just there to MC the event. It's all about the restorers in the room. That's what
Okay.
we make it to be. So no vendors, no sponsors, none of that. It's just show up, be a part of something awesome, and take away some incredible friendships, relationships that you can collaborate with in the future.
I like that. You guys, how big of a group do you guys traditionally have for these events? Are you trying to go big, or do you try to keep it small and intimate?
It is small. I think last year we were up to about 10. I think it was 10 people that registered.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look.
It's a good
Very
size group.
small. Yeah, very small, very intimate. It's the kind of thing where we've got a conference room reserved. We have breakfast and lunch down there.
Mm-hmm.
But if we want to go to the roof, we can. Or if we want to just find a spot in Glacier to look over the water while we talk, we'll do that too.
I like that.
If we can find a spot to have a campfire, we may do that. We've talked a lot about doing that this year. So it's small enough that we can pivot and go to a spot that just fits the vibe. So
I
it's a
like
lot of
that.
fun.
Well, Toby, you've delivered exceptional value to our audience, not just today, but in the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to ask the audience to support, man. If this sounds like something that you guys be interested in attending, again, we'll put a link to it in the podcast description there. Reach out to them. It sounds to me like it's going to be a great time, and I can imagine it's going to be a beautiful scenery. For those owners that are like, hey, can I bring my GM? Can I bring my
100%.
project manager? Is that allowed?
100%. Yeah, we actually have one owner that's bringing two people with him. And every attendee, every owner that attended last year brought a second person with them last year. Last year was unique. I wish I could replicate this because on one side we normally set it up in like a U shape so everybody can kind of see each other.
Mhm.
Last year it worked out perfectly that down one side of the room we had owners and looking at them in the face was all of their employees.
A players, baby. Bring those A players to the table.
It was outstanding, and we had some very open, raw conversations that was so unique that I haven't seen that anywhere else. It was powerful.
I love it. Well, Toby, thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. We're going to have you back. We're going to find a way to get you in front of our audience more often because you've just got a wealth of experience, a wealth of value. And that's really the purpose of this show, right, is to help restoration company owners grow and scale their business. And you're one of the best voices doing it. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Very humbling.
And the group over at Restoration Advisors. Guys, if you like what you heard today, make sure you subscribe, and if you so choose, if you feel like we delivered a 6-star episode today, leave one of those 5-star reviews because that'll help us find more restorers there. So thank you again, Toby. We'll be back next week, guys, with another awesome episode.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe, share, and also leave us a 5-star review. We'll be back with more interviews and discussions with restoration industry leaders really soon. In the meantime, if you're a restoration company looking to add more high-value water jobs, you can reach me and my team at waterrestorationmarketing.net. Again, that's waterrestorationmarketing.net. I look forward to hearing from you soon.